Nathan Cross adjusted his silk tie and leaned back in the courthouse chair, a satisfied smirk playing across his lips. 3 weeks after burying his wife, he thought he'd gotten away with murder. The property hearing was just a formality, another step toward claiming what he believed was rightfully his. He lifted his designer coffee cup to his lips, savoring both the taste and his victory. The Grieving Widower Act had worked perfectly. Even the federal investigators seemed to buy it. Slam! The courtroom doors exploded open. Nathan's cup froze mid-sip as a figure stepped through the doorway, a figure that made his blood turn to ice. Celeste Blackwood walked in, very much alive. The coffee cup slipped from Nathan's trembling fingers, crashing to the marble floor in a cascade of ceramic and liquid. His face drained of every ounce of color as his dead wife locked eyes with him. But the woman he thought he'd killed was about to destroy his entire world. To understand how we got here, we need to go back to where it all began. If you don't want to miss what happens next, hit subscribe now, before it's too late. You won't believe how this story unfolds. Celeste Blackwood once believed she'd married her soulmate. Nathan Cross was charming, successful, and influential. Everything she thought she wanted. But fairy tales don't prepare you for monsters. It started with cutting remarks disguised as jokes. "You're too sensitive, Celeste. Nobody else would put up with your drama." The verbal jabs became daily ammunition, chipping away at her confidence one cruel word at a time. When words weren't enough, Nathan escalated. He followed her to work, showing up unannounced at her yoga classes. Her phone buzzed constantly with his messages, each one more controlling than the last. "Where are you? Who are you with? Answer me now." The first time he hit her, Nathan cried afterward, promised it would never happen again, bought her expensive jewelry as an apology. The second time, there were no tears, just cold calculation. Hospital photos told the story her voice couldn't, broken ribs, fractured wrist, a concussion that left her dizzy for weeks. Each injury carefully documented, each restraining order meticulously filed. But Nathan Cross wasn't just any abuser. He was Millbrook royalty. His family's construction company had built half the town's infrastructure. Every Friday, he played golf with Police Chief Henderson and District Attorney Morrison. Their laughter echoed across the country club, while Celeste's pleas for help echoed in empty police stations. To the public, Nathan was the devoted husband, the community pillar, the generous benefactor. Behind closed doors, he was calculating her destruction with the same precision he used to develop real estate. Detective Miranda Walsh was different. Fresh from the academy, uncorrupted by small-town politics, she saw through Nathan's performance. While her colleagues dismissed Celeste's complaints, Walsh quietly built a file. Photographs, medical records, witness statements. But Walsh couldn't arrest influence. She couldn't handcuff connections. The second hospitalization changed everything. Nathan had used a crowbar this time, claiming Celeste fell down the stairs. The lie was so transparent it insulted everyone's intelligence, except those who mattered most. Celeste lay in that hospital bed, staring at fluorescent ceiling tiles, and realized a terrifying truth. The system had failed her. The law couldn't protect her. Nathan's power extended too far, reached too deep. What she didn't know was that Nathan was already planning something far worse than broken bones, something permanent, something final. The storm clouds were gathering over Millbrook, both literally and figuratively, and on one rain-soaked October night, he would finally make his move. Are you already feeling the tension? Then subscribe or you'll be left in the dark when the truth comes out. The Millbrook Country Club's mahogany bar had seen many conversations, but never one quite like this. Nathan Cross sat hunched over his fourth whiskey, his voice growing louder with each sip. His usual golf partners shifted uncomfortably in their leather chairs. "That woman thinks she can embarrass me," Nathan slurred, his knuckles white around the crystal tumbler. Filing reports, crying to lawyers, playing the victim card. He drained the glass and slammed it down. "Well, I'm going to handle my wife's defiance once and for all." The silence stretched thick and heavy. Even Police Chief Henderson found something fascinating about his shoes. District Attorney Morrison cleared his throat nervously. These men had overlooked Nathan's behavior for years, but tonight felt different. Tonight felt final. Outside, storm clouds rolled across the October sky like an army preparing for war. Lightning flickered in the distance, promising violence. Nathan stood abruptly, swaying slightly. "Gentlemen, if you'll excuse me, I have some business to attend to." His smile was cold, predatory. "Don't wait up." The drive to Celeste's cottage was a blur of rage and alcohol. Nathan's BMW cut through the rain like a blade, windshield wipers fighting a losing battle against the downpour. Thunder cracked overhead as he reached into his back seat and pulled out an aluminum baseball bat, the same one he'd used to threaten her before. This time would be different. Meanwhile, Celeste sat in her secluded cottage, watching rain streak down the windows. The isolation that once felt peaceful now felt like a trap. Every creak of the old house made her jump. Every flash of lightning revealed shadows that shouldn't be there. Her phone buzzed. No caller ID. She didn't answer. It buzzed again, and again. Then it stopped. That's when she knew. This wasn't another intimidation visit. This wasn't another round of threats and broken dishes. The silence was more terrifying than any scream. Nathan was coming, and this time, he wasn't planning to leave any witnesses. Car headlights swept across her living room wall. An engine cut out. A car door slammed with the finality of a coffin lid. Heavy footsteps splashed through puddles, growing closer. Nathan burst through her door like a force of nature, rain dripping from his hair, bat gripped in both hands. His eyes held no recognition, no humanity, just the cold focus of a man with murder on his mind. "You thought you could destroy me," he screamed, swinging the bat in wild arcs. "You thought those pathetic little reports would save you." This time he wasn't there to intimidate. He was there to end it permanently. But what Nathan didn't know was that Celeste wasn't as helpless as she appeared. What he didn't know was that Celeste had been preparing for this exact moment. If you don't want to miss how Celeste fights back, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you'll regret it if you don't. For 3 months, Celeste and Detective Walsh had met in secret. Coffee shops in neighboring towns, abandoned parking lots after midnight, every meeting carefully planned, every conversation off the record. "He's going to kill me," Celeste had whispered during their first encounter. "The system can't stop him, but maybe we can trap him." Walsh had nodded grimly. "We'll need proof, undeniable evidence, the kind that even his golf buddies can't ignore." They transformed Celeste's cottage into a surveillance fortress. Micro cameras hidden inside smoke detectors, motion sensors disguised as decorative plants, audio equipment woven into the wallpaper itself, every angle covered, every sound captured. But technology alone wouldn't be enough. Under the alias Catherine Blake, Celeste enrolled in acting classes across town, method acting, stage combat, most importantly, death scenes. Her instructor praised her commitment to realism, never knowing she was training for the performance of her life. Stage blood packets were strategically positioned throughout the house, behind picture frames, under furniture, even sewn into her clothes. Breakaway glass bottles filled with red liquid, capsules that would burst on impact, creating authentic-looking wounds. The night Nathan arrived, Celeste was ready. As his bat connected with what he thought was her skull, time seemed to freeze. The carefully placed blood packet exploded in a crimson shower, coating the wall behind her. Her collapse was Oscar-worthy, a perfect fall that sold the illusion completely. Nathan grunted with satisfaction, watching the red pool spread beneath her motionless body. But Celeste's real performance had just begun. Every muscle screamed to move. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Adrenaline flooded her system, begging her to run. Instead, she lay perfectly still, controlling her breathing, slowing her pulse through meditation techniques she'd practiced for weeks. Nathan spent the next hour crafting his masterpiece of deception. He smashed windows from the inside to suggest forced entry, ransacked drawers and scattered valuables, broke several items of expensive jewelry, pocketing the pieces to sell later. The irony was delicious. Every careful detail of his staged burglary was being recorded in high definition from 6 different angles. Nathan even cut himself with broken glass, creating defensive wounds that would support his story. He practiced his shocked expression in the hallway mirror, rehearsing lines he'd deliver to investigators. "I came home and found this," he muttered to himself, stepping over Celeste's corpse. Someone broke in. They must have surprised her. As police sirens wailed in the distance, called by concerned neighbors, who were actually Walsh's trusted team, Nathan took one final look at his handiwork. Celeste remained motionless as footsteps faded toward the door. She counted to 60, then 200, then lost track entirely. Every second felt like an eternity, every breath a potential betrayal of her act. When Detective Walsh's team finally arrived to remove her body, Celeste had been performing death for 3 excruciating hours. Nathan raced home to establish his alibi, a poker game with witnesses who would swear he'd been there all evening. Phase 1 of Celeste's plan was complete, but the real performance was just beginning. You're not going to believe what happens next. Hit subscribe now or stay clueless about Celeste's epic revenge. Nathan Cross transformed overnight into Millbrook's most tragic figure. Gone was the controlling husband, replaced by a broken man who could barely function without his beloved wife. His performance was flawless. At the funeral home, Nathan sobbed openly as he selected the most expensive casket. "Nothing's too good for my Celeste," he told the funeral director, his voice cracking with manufactured emotion. "She deserved so much better than what this world gave her." The elaborate service drew hundreds of mourners. Nathan had spared no expense. White roses by the thousands, a string quartet, even a dove release ceremony. He stood at the podium, delivering a eulogy that would have made Hollywood weep. "Celeste was my everything," he proclaimed, dabbing his eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. "She was taken too soon, too violently. But I know she's watching over me now, wanting me to be strong." Behind the tears, Nathan felt intoxicated by his own cleverness. He'd committed the perfect crime and transformed himself into the perfect victim. Local news stations couldn't get enough of the grieving widower story. Nathan gave tearful interviews from his mansion's front steps, his voice breaking at all the right moments. "The police are doing everything they can," he told Channel 7's cameras, "but nothing will bring back my angel. I just hope they catch whoever did this before another family suffers like mine has." The community rallied around him. Casseroles appeared on his doorstep. Neighbors offered to mow his lawn. Even former critics sent sympathy cards, their previous suspicions about his character dissolving in the face of such apparent grief. Nathan established the Celeste Blackwood Foundation for Domestic Violence Awareness, a cruel irony that delighted his twisted sense of humor. The foundation's mission statement spoke of protecting vulnerable women, while Nathan secretly planned his next moves. But Nathan's greatest performance was his growing confidence. He began to believe his own lies, convinced he'd outsmarted everyone who'd ever doubted him. This arrogance became his fatal flaw. Within days of the funeral, Nathan started liquidating Celeste's assets. Her grandmother's antique jewelry, pieces she'd treasured since childhood, were sold to private collectors for cash. The transactions were quick, quiet, and Nathan thought untraceable. Next came her trust fund. Nathan had gained access to Celeste's accounts through their joint power of attorney, never suspecting that every withdrawal was being monitored and documented by federal agents. The shared properties followed: their vacation home in the mountains, the downtown loft they'd bought as an investment. Nathan put everything on the market, telling real estate agents he couldn't bear the memories. What Nathan didn't know was that his financial activities had triggered alerts in an ongoing federal investigation. For months, FBI agents had been building a money laundering case against his construction company. Shell corporations, inflated contracts, kickbacks to city officials. Nathan's business empire was built on fraud. Celeste's murder had accelerated their timeline. The sudden movement of large sums of money, combined with the suspicious timing of her death, made Nathan their primary target. Every bank transfer, every asset sale, every financial move was photographed, catalogued, and added to their growing case file. Agent Rebecca Torres had been watching Nathan for 2 years. "Guys like this always get greedy," she told her team. "His wife's death was supposed to be his payday. Instead, it's going to be his downfall." For 2 weeks, Nathan lived in blissful ignorance. He attended community events, accepted condolences, and counted his growing wealth. He even started dating again, telling friends that Celeste would want me to be happy. His confidence grew with each passing day. He'd beaten the system, outsmarted the cops, and fooled an entire town. Nathan Cross felt untouchable, invincible, brilliant. But Nathan's arrogance was about to become his greatest weakness. In the sterile confines of the FBI field office, Agent Rebecca Torres stood before a wall-sized digital display, her eyes tracking the intricate web of financial transactions flowing across multiple monitors. Red lines connected bank accounts to property transfers, blue arrows traced asset liquidations, green dots marked suspicious cash withdrawals. "Every dollar tells a story," Torres muttered to her partner, Agent Marcus Reed, "and Nathan Cross is about to become the star of ours." Bank records painted a damning picture. Within 72 hours of Celeste's death, Nathan had transferred $250,000 from her personal accounts into offshore holdings. Property deeds changed hands with suspicious speed. Investment portfolios vanished into numbered accounts in the Cayman Islands. Detective Walsh arrived at the federal building carrying 3 boxes of evidence. Her partnership with the FBI had been months in the making, but Celeste's case had accelerated everything. "He's not just a murderer," she explained to the assembled task force. "He's been laundering money through construction contracts for years." The net was closing around Nathan, but he remained obliviously confident. His appetite for Celeste's assets grew more brazen by the day. Nathan contacted 3 different insurance companies, claiming death benefits totaling nearly $2 million. He provided police reports, death certificates, and tearful testimonies about his beloved wife's tragic end. What he didn't know was that insurance investigators had flagged his claims immediately. Federal agents were monitoring his phone calls, tracking his movements, photographing his meetings with financial advisors. Nathan spent afternoons at luxury car dealerships, test-driving vehicles he planned to buy with Celeste's life insurance. He toured expensive condos in Miami, telling real estate agents he needed a fresh start away from painful memories. Meanwhile, in a secure federal safe house 3 states away, Celeste sat at a conference table reviewing hours of high-definition footage. Her own murder played on multiple screens simultaneously, different camera angles capturing Nathan's every move that horrific night. "We've got him staging the burglary from 6 different perspectives," said FBI tech specialist Jennifer Kim. "The audio is crystal clear. His confession to your murder, his excitement about inheriting your assets, it's all here." Celeste's hands trembled as she watched Nathan clean her blood from his baseball bat. The man she'd once loved had become a monster, and now she held the power to destroy him completely. The federal case file grew thicker by the day: financial crimes, insurance fraud, attempted murder, each charge carrying decades of prison time. Prosecutors worked around the clock, ensuring their case was bulletproof. But Nathan's arrogance had reached dangerous levels. He listed the family home for sale at significantly below market value, desperate for quick cash. When his real estate agent questioned the decision, Nathan laughed coldly. "Dead wives don't need houses," he said, not noticing the agent's shocked expression or the recording device in her briefcase planted there by federal investigators. The final pieces fell into place when Nathan attempted to access Celeste's retirement accounts. His lawyer had advised patience, but Nathan dismissed the concern. "She's dead," he snapped during a recorded phone call. "The money's mine now. I earned it by putting up with her for 10 years. Federal prosecutors scheduled a routine property hearing, ostensibly to finalize the transfer of Celeste's estate. Nathan's lawyer assured him it was just paperwork, a formality before he could claim his inheritance. Nathan arrived at the courthouse that morning feeling invincible. He'd worn his most expensive suit, Italian leather shoes polished to perfection. The designer coffee cup in his hand cost more than most people's hourly wage. He strode through the courthouse hallways with the confidence of a man who believed he'd committed the perfect crime. Other attorneys nodded respectfully. Court clerks smiled politely. Nathan felt like the king of his own carefully constructed kingdom. In the courtroom, he settled into the defendant's chair with practiced ease. This was his victory lap, the moment when Celeste's wealth would officially become his. He'd already spent much of it in his mind: the Miami condo, the luxury cars, the freedom to finally live without consequences. Nathan lifted his coffee cup in a silent toast to his own brilliance. 3 weeks after burying his wife, he thought he'd gotten away with murder, but someone was about to crash his celebration. Nathan thought he was attending a routine property hearing. He had no idea he was walking into his own trap. If you don't subscribe right now, you'll miss the moment Nathan finally gets what's coming to him. Don't be the one left behind. The heavy oak doors exploded inward with devastating force. Every head in the courtroom snapped toward the sound as federal agents flooded through the entrance. But it wasn't the uniformed officers that made the blood freeze in Nathan's veins. It was the woman walking between them. Celeste Blackwood stepped into the fluorescent courtroom lighting, like a ghost materializing from his worst nightmare. Her heels clicked against marble with the rhythm of a death march. The collective gasp from spectators created a vacuum of disbelief that sucked the air from Nathan's lungs. His designer coffee cup tumbled from nerveless fingers, exploding against the floor in a shower of ceramic and espresso. The crash echoed through the stunned silence like a gunshot. Nathan's face transformed from smug confidence to absolute terror in the span of a heartbeat. "Your Honor," announced Assistant District Attorney Sarah Chen, her voice cutting through the chaos, "the state would like to present crucial evidence in the matter of Nathan Cross versus the estate of Celeste Blackwood, who, as the court can see, is very much alive." Judge Patricia Harrison banged her gavel twice, struggling to maintain order as murmurs rippled through the gallery. Nathan's lawyer jumped to his feet, his briefcase scattering papers across the defense table. "This is impossible," Nathan whispered, his voice barely audible. "She's dead. I killed—" He caught himself, but the damage was done. Court stenographers captured every syllable. "Mr. Cross," Judge Harrison's voice boomed, "you will remain silent while this evidence is presented." The prosecution's first exhibit materialized on the courtroom's massive display screen, high-definition footage from Celeste's cottage. Nathan watched his own face fill the monitor, wild-eyed, rain-soaked, gripping a baseball bat with murderous intent. The audio was crystal clear. "You thought you could destroy me?" his recorded voice screamed from the speakers. "You thought those pathetic little reports would save you?" The courtroom watched in horrified fascination as Nathan systematically destroyed furniture, planted evidence and cleaned blood from his weapon. Every calculated move, every staged detail, every moment of his cover-up played out in stunning clarity. Financial records flashed across secondary monitors, account transfers, property sales, insurance claims. Federal Agent Torres stood beside the display, pointing out each fraudulent transaction with laser precision. $2 million in life insurance claims filed within 48 hours of the alleged murder, Torres announced. Property transfers totaling $3.2 million, offshore account deposits exceeding $1 million, all while the defendant publicly grieved his supposedly dead wife. Nathan's world crumbled with each revelation. The grieving widower facade melted away, revealing the cold-blooded killer he'd always been. His own arrogance had provided prosecutors with enough evidence to bury him forever. "The defendant stands charged with attempted murder in the first degree," the prosecutor continued, "insurance fraud, grand theft, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit fraud." Celeste took the witness stand with quiet dignity. Her testimony was precise, powerful, devastating. She described months of abuse, terror, and Nathan's final attack with unflinching courage. "He told me no one would miss another dead wife," she said, her voice steady. "But he was wrong. Justice doesn't forget." The metal handcuffs clicked shut around Nathan's wrists with the finality of a closing coffin. As federal agents escorted him through the same doors where Celeste had made her triumphant entrance, cameras captured his complete humiliation. The man who thought he was untouchable had finally met his match. This story teaches us something powerful. Never underestimate a survivor's strength. Celeste refused to let Nathan's violence define her ending. When the system failed her, she created her own justice. Justice may be delayed, but it's never truly denied. Months of careful preparation and unwavering patience proved stronger than Nathan's wealth and political connections. Strategic thinking defeated brute force. Intelligence conquered cruelty. Detective Walsh's courage to stand against corruption made all the difference. Sometimes one honest person willing to fight can change everything. Allies matter. Truth matters. Persistence matters most of all. Nathan Cross received life in prison without the possibility of parole. The federal charges ensured he'll never manipulate another victim. His construction empire collapsed, his assets seized, his reputation destroyed forever. Today, Celeste runs a non-profit organization helping domestic violence survivors escape dangerous situations. She speaks at conferences, trains law enforcement, and funds safe houses across 3 states. Her foundation has saved hundreds of lives, from victim to victor. That transformation defines real strength. Detective Walsh was promoted to lieutenant and now heads the Domestic Violence Task Force. The corrupt officials who enabled Nathan's abuse were removed from office. Millbrook learned that power without accountability always falls. Celeste's story proves that sometimes the greatest revenge is simply staying alive long enough to see justice served. When evil thinks it has won, survivors find ways to write a different ending. If you're still watching, there's one thing left to do. Subscribe. Don't be the one who regrets not being part of this incredible journey.